Welcome, everybody, to the Bitch Slap, the Accelerated Path to Peace podcast, and this continues the Tools for a Good Life Summit General Admission interview series. And on today we've got Robert Drysdale. Robert Drysdale is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. Indeed, he is. The phenomenon of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that is sweeping the world. Robert Drysdale is a world champion. He's a TEDx speaker, an MMA fighter, and just a humble human being. And we are very blessed to I was very blessed to have him on the Tools for a Good Life Summit. And he's going to go, and he, in this interview, talks about the power of community, competition, and humility. Please enjoy Robert Drysdale. And oh yes, before we cut to that interview in 2 seconds, don't forget you can register for the Tools for a Good Life Summit at toolsforagoodlifesummit.com. Enjoy the interview. Welcome back, everybody, to the Tools for a Good Life Summit. And right now, I would like to introduce to you Robert Drysdale, world champion, BJJ Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master. Is master an appropriate word, or?
I go by coach or just like I'm very simple.
Okay, so, fantastic.
No need for a lot of titles. It's all good.
I love it. Fantastic. That's one thing that drew me to you for this summit. Real quick, I'm going to read your bio. Okay.
Sure.
Fantastic. So, born in the USA from a Brazilian mother and American father, and having spent his life between these two countries, Robert Drysdale remains the only American-born to have ever won both the IBJJF and ADCC World Championships, the two most prestigious tournaments in all of Jiu-Jitsu. Furthermore, he has also cultivated a career in MMA, both as a fighter and as a coach. The author also holds a bachelor's degree in history, as well as a long-held passion for this discipline. He lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he teaches Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, and you are the co-founder of the international team Zenith Jiu-Jitsu, and you are the father of 2 girls. And so I've got 2 friends. I'm 53. I have 2 friends, late 40s. And as I was putting together this summit, and really, I think there's so many great modalities out there to help us as we get a little bit older in age, perhaps some existential crisis, whatever it is. But there's all these great modalities. And I think Brazilian train going by, if you heard that, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the martial arts, judo, are so powerful. So I've got these 2 buddies, both who are pushing 50, both who have started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or BJJ, for anyone who's listening and is unfamiliar with that term, BJJ. And it's transformed their lives. So one's been doing it for about 1.5 years, and one's been doing it for about 3 years. So I was like, I definitely need to get somebody on this summit who can speak to it. And why not somebody who's been in it his whole life? And that's how I came to you. So I have a couple of questions to start with. First off, can you speak to that just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, I think, there's a variety of reasons why, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is appealing to a whole plethora of people, like of different walks of life, everything from children to mothers to competitive athletes to dads to people who've never practiced any sports or they never really felt a calling, to martial arts in general. Like people, they think that fighting was despicable, and all of a sudden they're madly in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I think there's a variety of things that come into play here, and it helps explain why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is such a worldwide phenom. I think firstly, it has to do with, we like challenges. We like things that are difficult enough for us to be able to overcome them. And I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like you overcoming yourself one day at a time.
Yeah.
Think of a video game that you play that you can beat the first time you play it. It's not very challenging. You're probably not going to play it again. But if it's something that is constantly, challenging you, if it's something that's constantly, there's like new layer after layer after layer, and you can't defeat it, you become more challenged by it.
Yeah.
And that's what competition is. We are obsessed with competition. We enjoy competition, and competition is good. And there's a healthy way to be competitive. And I think jiu-jitsu is one of the many arenas where you can exercise that healthy competition.
Yeah.
I also think that people become highly addicted to the endorphins from training, physical endorphins.
Yeah.
You may get, some people call it a runner's high, or, whatever high you experience while you're working out. You experience that in jiu-jitsu as well. Granted, and I am biased here, I'm the first one to admit it, jiu-jitsu is chess with your body. It is highly, highly intellectual. Like, it kind of drives me crazy. It's a bit of a peeve of mine when people think of fighters as these brutes that don't know how to think, and that's why they fight. I cannot think of anything more intellectual than fighting. Like, I really can't. It is one of the most extreme displays of human intelligence.
Yes. Yes.
It's not seen that way for a variety of reasons. It's not sold that way because if you pitch fighting that way, it might be less interesting to show business. But yes. I've known these guys, and some of these guys have never read a book in their lives, but they're some of the most intelligent people you've ever met in your life.
Yeah. Can I say something to that real quick?
Sure.
So my one buddy, Kevin, he said that, he started a couple of years ago, but he said initially it's the physicality of it, but then you realize really quickly it's the mental game. It's the mental process. It's the strategy, that chess. And like, the more, if you play chess, for example, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know and you need to know, kind of a thing. Is that a good analogy? Or
it's infinite. It's infinite. Like, we often compare it to chess. And I remember I had a friend of mine in college back in Brazil where he was a chess master, like highly ranked, right?
Yes.
And we would argue, we'd always debate which one was more complex, chess or jiu-jitsu. And I'd win every time because chess is two-dimensional. And it's kind of like only pieces, and the pieces only do so many moves. Human movement is three-dimensional, right? It has infinite movements. You add the emotional stress of fighting it's very few things in life can replicate that. I imagine war would be something even more stressful.
Yeah.
I imagine, like a real life threatening situation would be very stressful like that, but fighting is extremely stressful and you got to manage it. And is the reason why most people are terrified of it, because just the thought of it freaks them out. Like, knowing that at 7 p.m. on a Saturday, you're going to have to step into a cage, and fight against someone who's been trained their whole life to knock your head off. Like, it's a terrifying thought. And it really isn't I have no issues admitting this. I was terrified every single time I stepped in there. You can't show it. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, on the verge of crying. I was so scared.
Yeah.
Like, on the verge of crying. Like, I would hope to get injured like the week of the fight so I didn't have to fight. There's a part of me that was like hoping I would get injured so I didn't have to fight. That's how scared. But and that's intelligence. That is intelligence. People don't see it, but it's to manage that. It's not for everyone. So I think that, and then you add the physical element to it. It's extremely physical. Like, they say that, like wrestling is one of the hardest things you'll do in life. And it's true. Like, trying to take someone down, and then trying to stand back up and you holding them down. I think CrossFit is easy. And I'm not trying to, discredit anyone, but
sure.
Physical terms, and you can't compare. And then there's a technical layers to it. It's just layer after layer after layer. 23 years of doing this, and I'm not even scraping the surface.
That's incredible.
And it really is infinite. So I really feel that fighting in general is not appreciated as something that requires like an enormous amount of intelligence and intellect in general. It's just that our definition of intelligence is so narrow. It's so limiting that we don't see it that way. We see two meatheads trying to knock each other out. But there's beauty in that too. There's value in trying to defeat your opponent. It's like looking into a mirror and trying to do that mirror, trying to move faster than the mirror moves, and I think it's beautiful on many, many different levels. Yeah. But it's something I think a lot of people miss. They only see a bar fight. I don't see a bar fight. I see a ceremony.
Yeah. I want to speak to two things in that regard. And one is my buddy Kevin. I'm going to drop their names because they're going to be so excited that they're collaterally involved in this. But Kevin said it's the most rigorous exercise for him, and that it beats the hell out of him, and he loves it. Like at 50 years old, he's like, yeah, it just kicks my ass, and it feels so good. And so there's that physical outlet, which is so powerful, especially as we get older, I think, to keep that movement, and it just, for longevity, it's so powerful. But my other buddy Fernando, it transformed his relationships with people, and specifically with his girlfriend that he's been with for a while. And he was talking about how in the judo, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, how he it's very meditative on one hand, because your mind has to focus, which is awesome. And then also the patience that it teaches you, and the new perspective that it teaches him, or, and how he was able to bring that out and find patience with and new perspective with his relationships. Can you speak to that a little bit, or is that your experience as well? Or
it does help on a personal level too. I mean, there's so many, lessons. I often say that every lesson you're going to learn in life, you're going to learn on the mats first. It's just that you may or may not see them, but they're all there, right? But there's something about, I think especially like when it comes to men and women relationships, because we're living in an age where we're taught that everything's exactly the same. Like, and I don't believe that. I think that, women expect a certain behavior from a man and vice versa. And I think that's the way nature is, right? I'm not suggesting, there are fixed gender roles, but I think women do like a strong masculine figure. They feel, I mean, you just talk to them and they'll tell you, like, who are you attracted to? And they're going to define what they're attracted to, and it fits a certain profile. Like, there are exceptions. There might be women out there who love men who cry all the time, for example, or who show weakness, or can't fix a door, or can't open the door for them, or can't carry the groceries. These things might exist.
Yes.
But I think for the most part, women like a man being a man. And one thing that jiu-jitsu will do for you, or fighting in general, I think I'm biased towards jiu-jitsu and MMA, obviously, that's my background, but I think any kind of combat will do, is it does give you a certain level of confidence about being. Like, you learn, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You're going to win. Yeah. Like, I think that martial arts combat, the strife, the struggle, is something that it puts you exactly where you need to be confidence-wise. I'll give you an example. Like, children that walk into my gym, they have the insecure child, right? The child that can't make eye contact, he gets bullied, he gets made fun of, he never wins at any sport, so he doesn't try. Parents bring them into jiu-jitsu as a last hope, last resort. My child is doomed, right? And what happens is that child, initially they lose, but every now and then they win. And then they go, oh, wow, I didn't know I could do that. I just won a round. And then they lose and lose again, and then they win another one. Right. So what it does is, as they win, as they lose, it kind of brings their confidence level up to where it should be, because they walked in, they're very insecure. They're not overconfident because they still lose, but the wins, they teach them that they are more capable than they thought they were. And then you get the child who is the bully. You get the child who is the overconfident child, that perhaps because he's bigger or he's more confident, and he just walks in and he acts like he's going to own the room. And then he walks into jiu-jitsu and he gets tapped by the nerdy kid with glasses. Right, he loses round after round after round to the kid, and now he's shocked. He's shocked. He just lost. I'm like, I didn't think that was possible. Right. So two things happen to the bully. He either leaves or he changes. He adapts and he goes, wait a second, I'm not as good as I thought I was. So it brings him down from that state of overconfidence, exactly where he's supposed to be. And then the bullied and the bully end up more or less in the same place, exactly where they're supposed to be. And when you find that happy place, you're going to see that you see the flaws in yourself, to see the weaknesses, but you see the strength too. And then you walk away with that with a certain degree of confidence, that I think it is just, confidence is one of those things, you can't talk it. You can't, you just have to feel it, have to be it, right? And jiu-jitsu changes you. It changes you from the inside in a very meaningful way. So I think people that start relating, not just romantically, but business-wise, they see something different. Like I was a very insecure teenager, like very, very, like, terrified of fighting, terrified of talking to a girl, like, a very socially awkward, didn't have a whole bunch of friends. But like, jiu-jitsu changed me to the point where, like after I stepped into a cage, I'm going, like, what's going to intimidate me now? Like, you know, if I'm in college and to be an exam and everyone's like terrified of it, everyone's like worried, I'm like, this is a piece of paper, people. Like, there's no way that this is going to scare me, you know?
Yeah.
And if you get used to that, having that battle, right? Like the winning, the losing, the struggling, that creates in you a certain mettle that you don't get by talking about it, by reading a self-help book. Like you don't get it any other way. You have to experience it. And that raises your, I think it improves on all your relationships. Like it makes you better at everything.
Yeah. I like it. I was just thinking too, I'm imagining as at any age, it can be a haven to work out emotions, to work out thoughts, to like go to the mat, or, you know, is that a realistic assessment as well? Sort of a, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. What's that?
No, absolutely. I said.
Yeah, great. So I got a question. I'm going to lay out a scenario for you, and then I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm looking forward to your answer. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, excuse me. Think of life as a three-legged stool of relationships, finances, and health. Now, think of someone who is or was successful and has two of those legs fall out from under them. So this could be a combination of divorce, career upheaval, financial stress, kids acting out or not going the direction that they want. There could be physical health challenges for themselves or for a loved one, maybe a death in the family, and continued failed relationships. And to top it off, there, pull yourself up from your bootstraps. There, fix it. There, push your way through it. Methods that served them so well are no longer working. They need new tools. And so for me, you know, and as I was hitting my 40s, there was divorce, career upheaval, and success. And I'm sure I watched your TED Talk, which was amazing. So you can relate, but there's that, you know, there's success as a solution, there's money as a solution, and then, excuse my language, the shit hits the fan. For me, it was divorce, career upheaval, failed relationships. Both parents died in rapid succession. So it kind of shook my foundations. And I was like, I need some new tools. I need something more than just, I'm going to go work more or make more money, or, you know what I mean? So this is my question to you. Thinking of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what are the exact next steps you would offer this person so they know they are headed in the new right direction, that they will have positive momentum towards getting their life back on track?
Yeah, you go through cycles in life, right? Like I'm not the same me I was 10 years ago, and it's a painful transformation because you change your mind, you change your worldview, you change your relationships. Like your world collapses on you at some point, and like nothing's working anymore. I've been through that as well. The one thing I recommend this, like when people ask me if jiu-jitsu healthy, and I go, for the body or for the mind? Very different. It's not healthy on the body. I don't care what people say. Yeah, okay. You have a good heart rate. You'll have a good heart rate. You know, your heart will be fine. You know, but there's more to health than just your heart and lungs. You know. But mentally, it's very healthy. Mentally, it's kept me in a very good place. I've seen it do it to people with PTSD, autism, you know, social anxiety, panic syndrome, double personality disorder, schizophrenia, you name it. Like people that are suicidal, drug addicts, alcoholics, and it just puts them, because there's something missing in modern life. You know, if you listen to my TED Talk, I've loved Nietzsche since I was a teenager, and he says that technology, comfort, and science was going to make life easier, but it was also going to make them unhappier because they're going to be so comfortable they had nothing to fight for. Mm-hmm. And once you have nothing to fight for, how can you find happiness? Like how can you find satisfaction when everything is given to you? Like if I give you a black belt, if I send you a black belt in the mail, how does that make you feel? It doesn't make you feel any good. It doesn't make you feel any better about yourself, right?
Yeah.
But if you earn it, if you put 10 years of your life into something, right? struggle to achieve it. Now it means something that is meaningful in a deeper way. And I think these are the things that martial arts do for you. They make you work hard for everything, and there's value in that. There's a satisfaction to that you don't find in many other things in life. You know, when you're in there, the lights are off, like the sound is off, like the world is off. There's no thinking, there's no stress, there's no time for anxiety to think about your sex life, your romantic life, your financial life. There's someone trying to beat you. There's someone trying to choke you. And you have to deal with all that. And it's those 2 hours you're on the mats. It's like it's peaceful. It's like ultimate form of therapy. These things are missing in human life. This is how we've lived our entire existence. 99% of our existence, we struggled every second of every day. And then you have technology that comes in and makes life so easy. We're no longer struggling. Like poor people are obese. It's the first time in history it's ever happened. Right? The struggles are no longer the same struggles we had 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago. And I think we're missing that. And I think martial arts is a space where we get to exercise that aspect of human nature that's been like set aside. Like we don't have to work hard to hunt an animal anymore. We go to Walmart, we buy meat. Like if you want to see a beautiful view, you pull up a picture. You don't have to climb a mountain anymore. Right? Like we don't have to climb a mountain. Just frame a beautiful picture in your living room. Right?
Yeah.
So because of all these things, I think that, you know, it's the lack of struggling is making people less happy. And I think this is one explanation for like depression and suicide going through the roof. You know, I'm not saying like I have all the answers. I'm not proposing that, but I think that martial arts is an expression of something that is very primal, very human and necessary. Like this is how we have lived. This is who we are. And it's a place to exercise all that in a healthy way. So
go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to wrap it up. And to your point, like, I think that's why people feel so good in there. That's why your friend feels so good.
Yeah.
Losing, he just got his ass kicked and he loved it because he's been taught his whole life that losing is bad and losing is part of the process. You're gonna lose. The only people who don't lose are the people who don't throw themselves out there. If you don't throw yourselves out there, you're never gonna have a sense of achievement because you're never gonna achieve anything.
Yeah.
Right. So you just got to take the good and the bad, and you learn how to love both. You learn how to love your losses too. I'm happy for my losses. Like now looking back, every time I lost, like at the time I was depressed. I'm like, oh, my life is over. I just lost. I've dedicated a whole year to this. But now I look back and I'm so thankful for them. I'm like, those made me who I am, and I'm happy with who I am. So, you know, so it's a very healthy environment.
I love it. Let me ask you as well. So let's say you got a 40 or 50-year-old guy or girl, maybe late 30s, somewhere in that range, who might feel intimidated or feel like, I don't know if I could stand an ass kicking day one, or like how would you encourage somebody to get through the door for day one?
Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way as a business owner. Like, you know, it's easy to forget what it was like your first day because your first day only lasts one day. And then, you know, by week 3, it's your second home, right? But for someone who's just getting started, you know, that first day is one of the hardest days of their life for a lot of people. They're just walking through the door, terrifies them.
Yeah.
But at my gym, we created what we call a 15-day lesson program. There's no actual contact. It's just theory. So it can be boring for someone who knows how to fight, but for someone who doesn't, it's still a lot of interesting information. We teach you the basics of the basics, basically teaching you how to crawl before you're going to walk. And new beginners love it because, you know, they're not allowed to train the first 15 days. All they got to do it's like music theory before I hand a guitar. So you're not going to hold on to a guitar before you're done with day 15.
Yeah.
You're just going to be learning the theory of it. So, but if you don't know anything about music, maybe it's a little boring. You know, you just want to pick up a guitar, which some people do. By day 5, they're ready to rock and roll. Yeah. But give them the option, right? And so basically, everyone's going to evolve at their own pace. It's not a race, as you are racing against yourself, if there's any race going on. So you're evolving at your own pace. So you have moms in there who have never done haven't practiced sports since they were children, and they're overweight, and they're unathletic, and they're very insecure. And they're in their 50s perhaps, and they jump in my class, and I have like professional fighters on the mat. So like, you imagine how they feel about that. And But the way we do it, and I can't speak for every gym. Like, this is how I run my.
I love it.
We give them time. This is your pace. You want to rest, you rest. You want to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. You want to sit out, sit out. You want to watch, you watch. And because you're in an environment, we follow our peers. Like what people around us are doing, that's what we want to do. So if you see everyone around you and you created a culture where everyone around you is competing in a healthy way and they're trying to win and defeat each other in a healthy way, then you're watching that. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you're a mom, I don't care if you're 60 or 70, I don't care if your knees hurt. You're going to watch that and I want to be part of that. It looks like those people are having a blast, and they are. And then once you immerse yourself in that culture, and it's okay to lose, and no one's going to make fun of you because that person just lost the previous round, and it's just part of what we do, that competition, it becomes highly addictive. There's a reason why I've never seen anyone quit jiu-jitsu because they didn't like it. I've seen people quit for work reasons, family reasons, health reasons. I've never seen anyone say, you know what, I roll around and someone beat me and I hated it. Yeah. Granted, your first week, you should not get your ass kicked because it's not for everyone.
Right.
It might be too intimidating. Like I'm an advocate of like easing people in and let them be comfortable enough with the mats before you start pushing them, right? And then they're going to ask to be pushed. Even moms do. They want to be pushed.
I love that. So what about, so we've got day 1 through 15, learn about it, get comfortable with the environment, super soft entry, and you just see how good it is and how vital. I don't know if vital is a good word, but I'm sensing that. And so what happens next? Do you have day 16 to 30 or?
Well, and then we throw you in the beginner's class. So now you're in a class with the other. So like we have a class before you enter the beginner class, right? A preparation class, so to speak. Beginner class, you're going to be there for anywhere between 1 year to 2 years, depending on your attendance level, right? And obviously your, how quickly you progress. Like people progress at different rates. Like a 22-year-old is going to progress faster than an 8-year-old or a 65-year-old, for example. Athletic ability does count. So there's some differences. So anywhere between 1 year and 2 years. And then we move you to my advanced class. Sorry about that. It's a dog.
That's okay. Dog saying hi.
But like then you move into the advanced class where the instruction is going to be a little more sophisticated. Yes. And class is a little bit longer. It becomes physically a little bit harder. It's just a more it's just a little, you just like raise the bar for them, and then they're in that class for the rest of their lives.
So beginner 1 to 2 years, and then do you find that so I get the sense, and tell me if this is true, and I'm sure you've seen it, but again, let's say we've got somebody 30, 40, 50, or a mom who's like, yeah, I want to do this, or a dad or what have you. Or you mentioned somebody who's got PTSD, like the transformation or the mental freedom starts right away, right? It's not like, is that an accurate sense that I have? Like, hey, the baby steps just are beautiful. Is that you'll get something out of it day one, but it's one of those things, the more you do it, like compared to music, right? Like your first day with a guitar may not be the most rewarding day because you can't really play anything. Yeah. But the first time you can hear that sound, the first chord that you can hear it nice and clear, you're going to go, oh, wow, I can do this. Like, okay, now I know what people are doing. I just got to get better at it. And this practice won't, like next thing you know, you can play a whole song. Yeah. It's very similar, but it doesn't end at the same time. There's no, I know or I don't know. It's not binary. It's a spectrum, and it's infinite. Like 23 years in, my body's destroyed. And I only wish my health were better so I can keep training and keep improving. Yeah. But there's, and it's not an age thing. It's more of a miles thing. It's like a car. It could be 2020 and have 150,000 miles on it. Yes. So it's kind of how at 39, it's kind of how I feel. I got arthritis all over my body, but I mean, it was worth it. I wouldn't go back and change anything. Of course. But it's baby steps, right? Like you get more out of it the more you do it. It really is a marathon, and your life will end before the marathon ends. Fantastic. Tell me off the top of your head of somebody who's, again, our age, and I'm a little older than you, so I apologize for saying our age, but sort of a transformation that you've seen from somebody perhaps on the door of suicide, not guaranteeing that someone's going to have this transformation, but have you seen literally like people on mentally at the bottom and then like come through that? Can you walk me through that?
Um, yes. We had one veteran, you know, she was an Iraq veteran, and like I don't even know what she went through. I was too scared to ask. But she was very traumatized. Her social anxiety was through the roof. She had a dog with her 24/7. I think to make matters worse, she had no family or very little family. She was very distant from her family. She basically had like, she would be at home all day living off whatever, you know, she was getting from, you know, her as a veteran. She was wounded too, so she had problems moving. She would use a wheelchair, and she can get off the wheel, but it was a bad scenario, man. It was just awful, and it kind of broke my heart because you could see she was a very lonely person, and she was really struggling mentally. But she would come to the gym every day. She would come to the gym every single day, and she couldn't do much. She was so injured that there's not much she could do, but she was there every day, and you can see her improving, like just being on the mats with us. Like everyone was very nice and patient and understanding. It kind of gave her like a second family, like a place, or first family, perhaps, a place to belong, a place to be happy. And people would joke around with her. And that's the other thing, you know, like martial arts environment is an environment where, you know, people are treated equally, like truly, not pretentiously, like truly. You know, if we like you, we make fun of you. It's like everyone else. We you know, it's a brotherhood, you know, or a sisterhood, if you will. Like you know, everyone, there's no such thing as, you know, I have to, you know, keep the appearances and you got to talk to people. You remove the social mask. Like, man, I've seen you almost cry from losing. It's okay. Like it's a very naked kind of, you know, really. So it's very honest. It's very honest. And I think people appreciate that. Like, we treated her like she was one of us, you know, and she got treated exactly like everyone else. It wasn't like, oh my God, she's a veteran and she's injured, let's give her special treatment. Like, it was none of that. There was no special treatment. It's like, no, you're one of us. Okay, you're on the mats like everyone else. No one went easy on her, like in the sense where we respected her disability, but no one is treating her like someone who's handicapped. You know, she got treated like a normal human being. And that's how I think if someone has a handicap, like that's how you treat them. Like you don't. I've heard that the worst thing you can ask a cancer patient is, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Like a dying cancer patient. It's the worst thing you can do is ask them how they're feeling. Like, why would you do that? Do you think that's gonna make them feel better? If they just have to repeat it for the 10th time that they feel like shit, they have cancer, they're gonna die, and they know that? Like, how do you think you're helping? You know, if you want to do something for that person, like make them laugh. Like, tease them about the old times, or remember something that happened in, you know, 10 years ago. Remember that one time you did that was retarded, you know, we make fun of them, and they make them laugh, and they can make fun of you, and you just treat them equal, you know, like treat them like you would treat your best friend. Like I think that's what people are looking for. And martial, I mean, at least in my environment, like I try to cultivate that. I try to be blunt with people and just treat them the way I would want to be treated. And but that involves just, you know, more than just, you know, being nice to them. Is being truly like a friend. Like you treat them like a friend, and that means you treat them normally. You make fun. You don't feel too sorry for them. You're like, you know, pick yourself up. Come on, one more rep. Let's go. No, don't be lazy. Get up. Do it again. You know, and I think that people, it's uncomfortable, but people crave that. Like people need that. You need that push. You know what's funny about being a coach that acts that way is at first they're shocked. Like, how could you talk to me like that? Or how could you make me, you know, and then eventually you gain their respect, because deep down that's what they wanted.
Yeah, they just want to be treated like they want that humanness, right? That
involves everything. Humanness involves everything, and it's not just being nice to people, not just being polite and political. Humanness involves everything, the pretty and the ugly. It involves, you know, hey, argue with me, disagree with me. Right. Like, it's okay. You can disagree. Like, oh my God, someone disagree with me. I can no longer be your friend. No, it's okay. We'll grab lunch afterwards. It's still wrong. So call them an idiot, and they'll go grab lunch, grab a beer afterwards, and it's so good. You know, but like, we're so sensitive. And
God, we're sensitive. It's insane, man.
And it's gone to the point of just ridiculous. Like, this is where historians will make fun of us in the future. Remember those people in the 21st century? right? We couldn't make fun of each other because people would get offended, you know. And I went to a comedy show the other day, and I can't remember the comedian's name. I wish I could, because would like to give him credit. And he goes, "Comedy is the last bastion of free speech."
Oh,
And I'm going,
really?
"Amen." It's the only place you can actually speak your mind. Is like, you know, it's like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr. They have that privilege. You just fire from
let it rip, right?
Rip, and it's comedy, so they can get. I mean, if I said it, I go to prison. But like, you know, it's. I think martial arts is appealing because it's kind of like comedy in a way, where it's very blunt, very naked, and very real, very human.
So, did you see this this vet, this woman who? Obviously, you got to see a progression and a profound effect. She came out of her shell, or tell me more. You got to see some cool results?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, next thing you know, she's smiling. Next thing you know, she's it became her happy place. Like, she ended up moving, right? So we don't have her anymore. But like, you see, there was a progression there in terms of her well-being, her happiness. And she couldn't do much jiu-jitsu because of her disability. There really wasn't much she could do, but she just loved being with us and doing her best to do the moves. And we would push her, and we worked around her injuries. We have like another lady, she's like close to 60 now, and she can barely, she's all beat up. She's on the mat almost every day, and everyone's patient with her, but we push her still. You know, the other day she was on her knees. I'm like, no, off your knees, push-ups on your toes. You know, and people are like, oh, you're making me uncomfortable. But then they're like, you know, I'm glad coach did that, because that's what I really wanted. You know, we've had, you know, alcoholism, you know, people that struggle with that, and they come to the gym every day. It's like their therapy. I don't think they go to AA anymore. As long as they're on the mats every day, it kind of gives them the strength to fight that addiction. And we don't talk about
it's honestly, I mean, I think atheist or agnostic or not or whatever, but I mean, it clearly, it's, if you want to believe this or take it that far, it's got to be providing a connection to source or God, or call it whatever you want. Like, it's got to be tapping into something into that, you know? Yeah.
There's a, you know, there are corners of human nature that we don't always tap into. Like, you don't tap into that unless you have a very strong sense of community, right? And for some people that's God, some people that's just spiritual, some people that's just, I mean, call it what you will, but there are feelings that we need to experience as human. They're very rich. We don't call them rich because they're free, but just because they're free doesn't mean everyone has them, you know? But I think we need that. Like, some of my best moments in life, like looking back, were not me on the podium with the gold medal around my neck. They were me on the mats, making, you know, with my friends after practice. We're all covered in sweat, and we just we're trying to kill each other 5 minutes ago, but now we're laughing and making fun of each other and exchanging information and teaching each other. There was a sense of community that you get from, you know, that brotherhood. You know, that is very unique. I've heard this from soldiers, like veterans. They come back from, you know, from wars, and they go like, hey, Rob, I don't believe in the war, but I feel like I have to go back because my brothers are there. So they go back more for that brotherhood than they do because of the cause. They don't believe in it anymore. But my friends are there. I have to be there for them. They probably miss that bond that they've created, being in that struggling, the situation of struggle for as long as they have. Like, you're risking your life every day, and there's someone there that's willing to take a bullet for you. Like, that's a very unique bond. I've never been to war, but, you know, the mats are that on a smaller scale, but I know how that feels. Like, I have friends, I know they would take a bullet for me, and I'd take a bullet for them. These are the kind of people you don't, it's a kind of friendship you don't develop very easily. And it's funny, if you saw us train, you would think that we hated each other.
I think I love that aspect of it, that community, that friendship, that connection, that's so powerful. And I think as we get more into the tech as a world, as a society, that community is splintering, right? And it's become illusory, or there's that the connection through the phone or through the swipe or whatever is not perhaps enough, you know. And I love, go ahead.
No, I just want to capitalize on that, because I think social media is a huge problem. I think it is the reason why suicide and anxiety are going through the roof. There's no real connection anymore, and we think it is, and it is addicting. I spend 6 hours a day on my phone. Like, you know, I'm not saying I'm not part of. I'm the cure here. I'm the part of the problem, but it does to you. Like, you become highly addicted, and the worst part is that not only you're not creating those bonds, but you become dependent on foreign approval to feel good about yourself. right? It's what the world that sets my value. No longer I don't set my own value. The world sets my value. And there's no way that wouldn't lead to a sad life.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what, I think this is a good place to end. I have a list of amazing questions, and I would just want to say that we didn't touch on this much because I really wanted to offer everybody some the hope, or that tool of what you offer, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that strength of mind, resolve, the mental, the community is just so powerful, and it's out there, and obviously it's growing like mad. So, but I think you've traveled the world. Anybody can watch your TED Talk, and they'll get an inkling of sort of your emotional experience with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I believe for you is, on one hand, was this blessing, but on the other hand is the curse, right? There's that duality. It almost kills you, but at the same time, it's your source. So in the bonus round, we're going to get into that. I've got some awesome, amazing questions. Perhaps we can get into some of your exploits. I'm excited to talk family with you in round 2. And some other super fun stuff. So anybody listening, if you've enjoyed Robert and his insights, there's going to be a lot more in our bonus session. So click on the VIP access. And Robert also does obviously you have studios, you do retreats, but Robert's going to offer up some amazing bonuses where perhaps you can join Robert in the fray, literally. So we have that to look forward to. And then where you can always find Robert at robertdrysdale.net, and a Google search, you can see his TED Talk. And then I'm just going to your site, zenithbjj.com. You can find Robert and all your fun stuff there. You've got a YouTube channel. Any final thoughts to share that we did not get a chance to cover in this first round, Robert?
No, man. That's about it. I think the mats are for everyone. There's no such thing as, and if it's not the mats, it's some other competitive endeavor. Like, you have to find that. Like, you need that place to manifest that other side of you. Like, if you don't have that, you need to find it. Your life will be more complete.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. This has been amazing, and yeah, I love your insights. So stay tuned for round 2. Click on the VIP All Access Pass, and thank you for spending time with me today. As someone who is committed to growth and service to this world, I so appreciate your willingness to come with me, go within, and serve our world through change. If you found value in this podcast and you know someone who can use this message, share this episode with them. Share it so our mission can be achieved one episode at a time. And of course, subscribe so you can hear more. And lastly, for more resources on what has helped me on my journey and can help you on yours, go to belove.media/resources. That's BELOVE.media/resources. Thank you again for listening.